Today we're going to be showing you how we've translated this song, Paint You a Song. The kids at this school are all deaf and use Auslan as their primary language, and for many of them their first language. It's important to understand that Auslan is a real language used by a community of speakers. Auslan has particular grammatical structures that are different from English. It's important when you're translating a song into Auslan that you either have people who are fluent signers with you to translate, or you get the translation from somebody else. Auslan isn't a language where you can just take the English words and slot in a sign that you found online somewhere. It's not going to make sense as a whole because the grammar is different to the grammar of English. When we translate a song, however, we're not always using a direct translation into Auslan, how we would say it if we were communicating in everyday language. The children come up with ways to translate the feeling of a piece of music. The children have translated the song quite freely because music is a form of art and poetry, so the children aren't sticking with a very literal translation. The kids have translated each line and the whole song with a particular theme, which is the idea of music being like a painting. So let's go through the song line by line, and I'll explain how the children arrived at each line and how they translated it.
I see the birds flying high, flying high, flying high in the sky.
The first line, I see the birds flying high, flying into the sky. The kids started that with a more literal translation. I see. They haven't actually signed I before the C because in Auslan you can drop the subject of a verb. So they've actually signed see the birds. And then for flying, they started with a flapping movement, but instead of repeating, what they thought looked good in Auslan was to show then the bird continuing to fly as if you were a person on the ground pointing and looking at the bird flying across the sky. So altogether it's I see the birds flying high into the sky, and they have an arc across the sky with their finger pointing at it. Then that the birds are all singing along, they've done the sign for sing and then the sign for link together, that can mean to join something together, but in a circle. You locate things you are talking about in space in Auslan, and so the idea is that there's all of these birds who are singing at the same time and they're linking them all together. And then the same old song, they're using the sign for same and also going around that circle as if it's that group of birds all singing at the same time.
I feel the beat, feel the beat, feel the beat, feel the beat in my heart.
For the line, I feel the beat, feel the beat, feel the beat in my heart, the sign feel uses your middle finger bent down, the other finger's straight, and moving up your body. In Auslan, it's what's called a topic comment language. You typically have to say first what you're talking about and then what it is you're saying. So the kids chose to do, after feel, they chose to show the heart first. And the way they chose to show heart, you can sign a heart as a separate sign, like this, but the kids thought it looked better and more visual if you actually drew the heart and then showed the beat. That sign for beat is not the sign, for example, for the beat of a song, but it's a sign they chose because it shows a heart beating. So they feel the heart, feel the beat of the heart, and they beat until the ends of those lines in rhythm. Then it keeps me warm. There is a sign which kind of means to spread up over your body. So one of the younger kids chose to keeps me warm, and they signed they chose the sign for warm. It's very important when you're learning to sign some things that you think about the hand shape that's being used, the way the hand's being moved, the orientation of the hand, where you're signing it, and also facial and other expressions. When you sign this spreading up your body before warm, you start with your hand shape closed, and then it opens up in a movement as it comes up your body. When you sign warm, you're using the fist hand shape on your cheek, and the movement is to rock back and forth like that. So the hand pretty much stays in the same location on the cheek, but it rocks back and forth. Like a spark in the dark was quite hard to think about how they were going to translate that. It took some time. And one of the kids decided to keep with the feeling that it's about warming your whole body, something light and bright, warming your body. The sign for like, this type of like, is also the sign for same, because it means the same as. So they translate it as the same as, and then as if it's this, like a blast of warm air. So it's spread up your body warm, the same as, and then it's going over your whole body. So that's one of the more freer lines that's translated, except for the sign warm. Those other signs don't match the English exactly, but it matches the feeling and it fits with the music.
You paint the melody.
The chorus, the children didn't know what melody and harmony was. We spent some time talking about what that means. The children in the school have all different levels of hearing. Some can hear music reasonably well with cochlear implants. Some of our kids don't hear music at all, but they're all quite capable of understanding the concepts. We talked about how a melody and a harmony go together, and they decided to stick with the metaphor we have of a painting, and so they have you paint the melody as if someone's painting, a large arc on a board or a canvas, and I'll paint the harmony is a different arc. So it's patterned with the melody, but on a different side. But when not actually painting, they don't say you paint and then sign melody. They're actually, just doing it as a whole action. You paint the melody, I will paint the harmony. Singing colours all around, the kids are sticking with this idea of doing a painting and quite an abstract painting, and they're throwing colours all over the canvas. Every city, every town, they're doing the sign for city, which has the point hand shape and your palms facing each other and going up and down alternately. And the sign for town is as if you have little houses, and the kids decided to show that it's every city and every town. Instead of signing every city, every town, they would actually show cities all the way down to town, as if it's all of the environments. The next part of the song has a part of grammar that's very important in sign language, and that is, or in Auslan, in most sign languages, and that is using facial expressions. So while there is a sign for if, you can also show if by using a particular facial expression with your eyebrows up. So the kids, instead of signing, let me paint you a song, they said, for paint, they had quite the person who translated the line had quite a nice flick, and then painting down a canvas. And they don't say a song because really, for us, that's what we're doing. So it's letting you paint this thing for a person. And then they've done promise, promise. And with the eyebrows up, it means if you promise.
Let me paint you a song. If you promise, promise.
There are several signs for promise, but they chose to use their hand up like an oath because it's more visual for their performance. So they signed, I'll paint you a song if you promise, promise. And each time they've said promise in the song, the kids are doing a line of the cross. On the third line of let me paint you, the third repetition of let me paint you a song if you promise, promise, they took off the promise in order to be able to sign everyone coming together to join in. So to sing along, they do a movement like gathering and the sign for include. For gathering in, they have a little movement of the hand shape as if you are gathering the things, and then one hand goes inside the other hand. So it's going in like this, and that means everybody included.
I hear the wind rushing in, rushing in, rushing into the night.
The next verse, I hear the wind rushing in, rushing in, rushing into the night. Again, the children wanted to have this idea of a picture. So without having as much repetition, and they also decided that if there were stars, well, then we know it's nighttime, so we don't need to sign night. They translated it as the wind, and it's quite windy, and then a sign as if it's rushing by. The wind's coming rushing by you. So the hands are representing the wind coming by and the person there while the wind's flying by them. When you sign the wind rushing by, the sign for wind has an open hand shape, like a 5, but when you're doing rushing by, the closed hand shape almost opens to show sort of the force of the wind. Then touch the stars, chase the light. They sign stars and they're locating them up high, pointing to one of them as if they're chasing it and then making as if to grab that light. The sign for stars is flicking this middle finger. If you had a marble or something, except it's not your point finger and you wanted to flick, it's like this, but up in the sky and locating them up in the sky.
Touch the stars, chase the light, and there's a song, there's a song, there's a song, there's a song in the air.
There's a song, there's a song, there's a song in the air. We talked about how we would show that. Would we show music? Would we show song? And they decided to use this as if it's musical notes in the air, because they could move that around, whereas the sign song comes from the mouth and you can't really show it in the air. It can't be moved around as much. So wriggling the fingers, getting higher and higher, there's a song in the air. And then listening close, for you can hear it there, they do that same song coming into their body through their ear. So they show the movement of the sound waves coming into the body, into their body through their ear.
And there's a song, there's a song, there's a song, there's a song in the air. If you listen close, you can hear it there.
For the music forever, there is a sign forever, but they thought that showing music again and again shows forever or shows sort of duration. So instead of signing music forever, they chose to sign just music. And for brings us together, they're showing this hand shape can represent people standing in a row and more people standing in a row. It's like 4, but not facing this way. You have to have the front of your hand out or facing the other hand shape. And brings us together is 2 groups of people coming together and standing in a circle. So it's music brings people together, music brings people together, and repeating that 4 times. The very last part, because it finishes with some music but no lyrics, one of our teachers actually suggested that you continue on this metaphor of painting and actually have a person dabbing away the final little parts of their painting, and on the final note, showing something that spreads everywhere. It can actually be sky, this sign, but it also means kind of like the colours on the canvas. Children who are left-handed will do signs the reverse of how a right-handed child signs. So it's important to have a dominant hand. Right-handed kids use their right hand, left-handed children will use their left hand, and that hand is the one that does one-handed signs. So they will sign C, birds. The cross of the heart will happen with the dominant hand, and pointing. It's important to keep movements together. So, for example, whenever we have a movement going in a circle, just as a group, the choir have decided to go in a clockwise motion if you're looking from above, so that everybody's doing the same direction, rather than having all the kids going different ways. So we really encourage you to learn and teach the kids to sign this song if you're interested, but beware always that what we're doing here is a poetic form of Auslan. It's not that you're learning individual signs, and anytime you want to do something like this and would like to translate a song into Auslan, it's very, very important to involve deaf people and fluent signers in the translation. so you get an accurate representation of the language. And it's also very important to focus again on movement, location, hand shape, orientation of your hands, and all sorts of other expressive parts, position of your body or facial expressions.
I see the birds flying high, flying high, flying high in the sky. They're all singing along to that same old song. I feel the beat, feel the beat, feel the beat, feel the beat in my heart. And it keeps me warm, like a spark in the dark. You paint the melody, I will paint the harmony. Singing colors all around, every city, every town. Let me paint you a song, if you promise, promise. Let me paint you a song, if you promise, promise. Let me paint you a song, if you promise to sing along. I hear the wind rushing in, rushing in, rushing into the night. Touch the stars, chase the light. And there's a song, there's a song, there's a song, there's a song in the air. If you listen close,